World War II, which dragged the whole world into a great destruction, brought a new period of division for Germany, which was on the losing side. While the territory of the country was divided into two states, the German Democratic Republic was established in the east, and the Federal Republic of Germany was established in the west. East Germany was governed by a socialist policy and followed the policy close to Soviet Union, while West Germany followed the pro-European and American policy. After Hitler's suicide, realizing that he had lost the war, Nazi Germany surrendered unconditionally to the Allies on May 8, 1945. Afterwards, the four occupation zones of Germany, conceived at Yalta Conference, were set up, each to be administered by the Commander-in-Chief of Soviet, British, US, or French Army of Occupation. However, since the capital Berlin remained in the area under the share of the Soviet Union, other countries, especially the United States, objected to this situation. Thereupon, it was decided to divide the city of Berlin into four equal parts, just like Germany. Now it was time for the establishment of states that wouldn't threaten world peace again on both sides. The leader of the Soviet Union, Stalin, who played a leading role in the defeat of Hitler's armies, had in mind the idea of creating a communist Germany. Truman and Churchill, who were worried about their situation, didn't take kindly to a communist Germany, felt a great deal of pressure. The parties agreed to meet once again to resolve these disputes. The Potsdam Conference, held for this purpose, lasted from 17th July to 2nd August 1945. The agreement signed between the countries at the end of the conference was based on the following principles: democratization of economic life throughout Germany, the destruction of German militarism and chauvinism, creation of a democratic Germany. Germany wasn't disintegrated, although it was divided into temporary occupation zones. Acceptance of Germany economically as a whole, as long as the occupation continues. In fact, although the idea of creating separate states by dividing Germany was proposed by the American President Truman during the conference, it was agreed that the country would remain as a whole after Stalin's opposition. However, neither the Soviet Union nor other states abided by this agreement. Truman's statement that the basic principle for US foreign policy was to destroy communism paved the way for both the start of Cold War and the division of Germany in two. So much so that the first struggle of the Cold War took place over Germany. While the United States, France, and England were cooperating in their own occupation zones to issue the German mark, they left the Soviet Union out of this cooperation. Shortly after this event, the Soviet Union began to print its own currency in the name of the East German mark, while also closing the border gates and blockading all the Berlin. It soon became clear that a divided Germany was inevitable due to this bloc. After 4 years of mutual showdown, on May 23, 1949, America, France, and England united the dominance areas and established West Germany, namely the Federal Republic of Germany. Taking action after the establishment of West Germany, Stalin started to work on establishing a new state in the region under the control of the Soviet Union. Finally, on 7 October 1949, Stalin announced that the German Democratic Republic, known as East Germany, was established in the region under the influence of the Soviet Union. Otto Grothwald became the first Prime Minister of the East Germany, while the German Social Democrat Party took the lead in the first elections in the country. The transformation of Germany into a divided structure caused great problems in the society. As a matter of fact, many people's relatives had left on the opposite side, and crossing from one side to other was strictly forbidden. In this period, East Germany, like West Germany, was trying to re-establish its industry to get rid of destruction of the war. However, within the framework of the Soviet model, which they took as an example, it didn't seem possible to reach the standards of the West. Undoubtedly, the division of the country played a large part in this. East Germany was half of the size of the West, and more than half the population left in West Germany. Only 30% of the heavy industry, which is the leading force of the country's economy, was within the borders of East Germany. Nevertheless, despite such disadvantages, East Germany succeeded in establishing one of the relatively advanced economic structures of the Eastern Bloc, using the potential of being an industrial country even before the war. By 1955, socialism in Europe had begun to make its impact felt more. The establishment of socialist governments under the guidance of the Soviet Union in Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Poland, and Romania contributed economically to East Germany. These socialist governments, which were established in Eastern Europe and even in the Balkans, greatly worried the American-led NATO. In retaliation, the United States announced that West Germany was admitted to NATO in 1955, while allowing it to maintain an army of 500,000 men in the country. Although the Soviet Union argued that it was against the Potsdam Agreement for Germany to have such an army, the result didn't change. As a result of these developments, representatives of 8 socialist European countries came together and signed the Warsaw Pact Treaty on 14th May 1955. The purpose of this pact against NATO was military and political cooperation. While People's Army of 200,000 people was established in East Germany, it gained a not bad military power, even though it was relatively weak compared to West Germany. While 80% of the army consisted of children of the working class, this was the perfect fit for a country ruled by socialism. Acting with the idea of creating a Europeanized Germany in foreign policy, West Germany firmly opposed to the recognition of East Germany by other countries, saw itself as the only legitimate representative of German lands, and therefore broke off relations with countries that recognized East Germany at once. The US, who supported this view, tried to strengthen West Germany by making large amounts of economic aid, which greatly angered the Soviet Union. On 27 November 1958, the Soviet administration gave a note to the USA, England, and France, asking them to withdraw their troops from West Berlin within 6 months, while the living conditions in East Berlin were getting worse day by day. A prosperous life prevailed in West Berlin due to its developing economy. In addition, the ongoing communist pressure in East Berlin left its place to a free and democratic understanding in West Berlin. Therefore, the escapes from East Germany to West Germany gained momentum in this period. East German leader Walter Ulbricht, who wanted to prevent these escapes, came up with the idea of building a wall around West Berlin in 1961. Although the Soviet leader Khrushchev didn't like this idea at first, he approved the building of the wall after the Western states didn't withdraw their troops from Berlin. The barrier, originally made of barbed wire, was converted into a concrete wall 2 days later. The height of the wall was increased to 3.5 meters over time, and barbed wire was placed on it. A year later, another set of walls was built, and the East German side of the wall was equipped with Soviet soldiers. Also, the soldiers were ordered to shoot anyone who wanted to cross from East Berlin to West Berlin. Thus, a death corridor was created between the two walls. After the construction of the wall between 1964 and 1967, with the new economic system, wages were increased in East Germany, access to luxury goods were facilitated, and industrial production increased by 8% in a short time. Despite these positive developments, East Germany was still far behind West Germany economically. The fact that no country other than the members of the Warsaw Pact recognized East Germany had a great influence on this. While the situation continued throughout the 1950s, it partly changed in 1963. East Germany was among the states that signed the treaty in Moscow on the ban of nuclear weapons tests in 1963. Thus, for the first time, the Western Bloc had to partially recognize East Germany. When the dates showed 1969, Willy Brandt won the elections in West Germany and became the first chancellor of the country. A year after he was elected chancellor, he changed direction of the foreign policy and started to establish good relations with East Germany, other socialist countries of Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union. As a result of these efforts, Brandt signed a non-aggression pact between the Soviet Union and West Germany in August 1970, while at the same time recognizing the borders of Europe at that time on behalf of his country. Then in 1971, the Soviet Union, USA, England and France signed a treaty to solve the West Berlin problem, and with this treaty, the existence of the Democratic Republic of Germany was accepted as a state for the first time. In addition, thanks to this treaty, the Cold War entered a period of softening for the first time. During this period, while many economic and technical agreements were signed between East Germany and West Germany, the two countries became members of the United Nations in 1973. Despite this convergence, although West Germany didn't recognize East Germany as a state, the understanding of one nation, two states began to emerge in both countries. France and United Kingdom didn't take kindly to these developments, in which relations between the two countries began and hopes for unification were formed. The two countries even made negative comments about the reunification of Germany. Despite all this, the positive approach of the two superpowers, the USA and the Soviet Union, was effective in this positive outcome of this unification process. The most important milestone in the process leading to unification was the coming of Mikhail Gorbachev to the administration of the Soviet Union in 1985. In this period, Gorbachev introduced a series of reforms for the USSR, which couldn't continue the competition with the USA in defense expenditures any longer. One of them was related to the socialist states in Eastern Europe. Gorbachev declared at the Party Congress that the socialist regimes in Eastern Europe could now make their own decisions and that the Soviet Union would not intervene militarily. On June 12, 1987, then US President Ronald Reagan made a historic speech in West Berlin and invited Gorbachev to tear down the Berlin Wall with these words: "We welcome change and openness, for we believe that freedom and security go together, that the advance of human liberty can only strengthen the cause of world peace. There is one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable. That would advance dramatically the cause of freedom and peace. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." East Germany made a statement on November 9, 1989, and announced that East Germany citizens who wanted to could transfer to West Germany or other Eastern Bloc countries. The people who've been trying to cross the other side, even risking death since the day the Berlin Wall was built, rushed to the borders after this news. In the first 4 days, 4.5 million East German citizens flocked to the capitals of countries such as West Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Yugoslavia. Gorbachev's words, "Life punishes to those who come too late," during his visit to Berlin on the occasion of East Germany's 40th anniversary, led to a set of pro-unification demonstrations in East Germany. The largest protest demonstrations in East Germany's history up to that time began on September 4, 1989, based in Leipzig. The participation of some politicians in these demonstrations and the state's non-intervention in the protests made these demonstrations even bigger and turned into a revolution. The checkpoints in Berlin were no longer functional and the Berlin Wall became inoperable. Demolition of the wall officially began on 13 June 1990 after part of the wall was demolished by the public. Subsequently, unification talks began between Britain, France, America, the Soviet Union, East Germany and Western Germany. With a 2+4 agreement signed on October 3, 1990, East and West Germany were reunited. This unification was interpreted by the whole world as West Germany's annexation of East Germany. Indeed, the whole world still agreed that the real Germany was West Germany. With the addition of 5 new states in East Germany and a population of around 2 million to West Germany, the population of the new Germany reached 80 million. With this increase in population and land, Germany became one of the physically largest countries in Europe. The effects of the unification were not limited to Germany alone. It was one of the cornerstones of the process when the Soviet Union collapsed and many independent states emerged in Eastern Europe. Of course, the unification of Germany was not the main reason for this situation, but the merger of a Western state with a free market economy with another state with a socialist structure was experienced for the first time in history. Finally, if you want the continuation of such videos, you can support us by liking and commenting on the video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.